What's going on, everybody? This is Fry. So today we are doing the token tier list. Now what a token means is it's a card in the game that you actually cannot find in the collection anywhere. You can only get this card in the game when it is created by one of the other cards. So just to start for an example, and let's just get right into it. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to be starting with the Astrocado Pit. Now, as you can see the little icon we have over here, we're going to be putting this on the tier list. I'm basically just going to be basing this tier list, by the way, on how good it is. I'll probably be looking at sort of the parent card, the one that creates it, to see how good that is too. But mostly just based on how good the actual card is in itself. So the Astrocado is an extremely good card, and as I mentioned in the Solar Class tier list, Astrocado did not even need this Astrocado Pit in order to be good, because a 5-cost 5/3 strike through is just a ridiculous finisher in this game. Really, really high power. So what this little Astrocado Pit does, it's a 1 sun. I guess that makes a difference if it's, well, you have to replay it. So you can replay it for 1. It has 1 health, and at the start of your turn, it transforms into an Astrocado. This is almost like a good version of Seedling, has the exact same stats, but it guarantees turns into a very good card. I think the Astrocado Pit is really, really nice. It's kind of cool how when Astrocado dies, you get this into your hand. It does trigger like your Dino Roars, which is cool. I guess if you have a Captain Cucumber on the field, your Astrocado Pit will also cause 0 instead of 1, because it's considered to be conjured when you gain it. It is obviously difficult. Thank you so much, amazing Reno, for subscribing. Dang, welcome to the Prime. That's a paid sub. So obviously it is hard to pull off this late in the game. You're talking turn 6 and on for the Astrocado Pit. It doesn't very often survive on the field that turn. Really, any removal card, teleporting in any minion will remove it. There has to be an open lane, which there isn't necessarily going to be on turn 6, and of course it doesn't work if there's a trapper territory in that lane or a black hole or anything like that. So super easy card to remove. On the other hand, it does put a lot of pressure on with the Astrocado Pit, just because they sort of like have to remove that, or else you're going to get a free Astrocado that turn. So if you're combining it, since it's very low cost, you're able to combine it with another play, with the second Astrocado or something else. The Astrocado Pit is very useful, how it just requires their focus and makes your opponent, really makes the zombie opponent not able to necessarily make as efficient a play as they could have, because they have to destroy, or else you're going to get huge value from that. The cool combo I actually found with Astrocado Pit is with Brainana on turn 7. If you play Brainana, if it's Rose, they can play Brainana and Astrocado Pit, and that makes them not able to respond to this, which really just gives you a free, a good 5-cost card the next turn. So, whoops, moving that around. Don't want to move that. I'm like trying to drag it in my OBS instead of on the tier list. Here we are. So because it is not, it's not like the greatest card in the world, very hard to survive. It's not an important part of the Astrocado, but it is quite good. I'm going to put Astrocado Pit, as far as it's concerned, in B tier. Again, it's very high reward, but also very high risk. Not super useful. You can even use this, by the way, just to chump block something in the game. Like, very often you don't even need it to transform. If they just have a high-attack minion on the field, you stick the pit in front of it and you try to go lethal in a different lane. So it definitely has that use. You could maybe put this in low A or high B. I think I'm going to put it in B, just because it's overall useful. It's a useful card, but not super, super useful, and not a very important part of the Astrocado in general. All right, next we are going to move on to the Infinity Clone. I think these are in order of cost, and then maybe alphabetically as well. I don't know. Barry Bama put this together for me. So it is, there's actually several ways of getting the 1-cost Infinity Clone token, as you can see down here. The main way, of course, is from playing Infinity's Superpower Triple Threat. This will make these 2/1 Infinity Clones with Amphibious and Random Lanes. This is an extremely good power, so I think I'm really going to give Infinity Clone extra points for being part of this. Again, a 1-cost 2/1 Amphibious, by itself, if this was just a card you would play, this would be very low tier. It's basically Snorkel Zombie, which is not very good. I guess it has Imp Synergy, which does make it better than Snorkel, who has like Vacation Synergy or some silly thing like that. So It's in its, but so in itself, it's not a very good card. But part of this power does make it good. Again, getting 2-1s on the field on turn 1 is just ridiculous. This is one of the better superpowers in the game. Now, the other ways you can actually get Infinity Clones, I believe there's 2 other ways. And live chat and Twitch, correct me if I'm wrong. There's 2 sneaky cards that can create. There's probably 3 sneaky cards that can create it actually. The most common one is actually Imp Throwing Imp. It's kind of cool how when you're throwing imps around the field, whenever this takes damage. So on the ground lane, you have the option of all the imps, but in the water lane, so you have 4 imps that can go in the water. You have the Swabby, Toxic Waste Imp, Fishy Imp, and then finally our Infinity Clone. The 2-1. Infinity Clone the water is not bad. It happens to be significantly worse than Toxic Waste Imp or Fishy Imp. So if Infinity Clone did not exist in the game, Imp Throwing Imp would probably actually be better, because then when it throws something to the water lane, it would actually create, on average, a better minion. Obviously, Swabby is the 4th one. It is better than Swabby, but having 2 out of 3 of them being extremely good would be better than, let's say, 1 bad, 1 average, which is Infinity Clone, and 2 good ones. So maybe we have to take off points for that. The other card that creates it is Imposter can create it.
Hey
Since
Fry,
it's a 1-cost
thank you
imp.
for carrying PvZ Heroes for the past 2 years. You are literally the only reason I still play this game.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Fine69. Wow. That's an extremely sweet thing of you to say, and I appreciate that people appreciate the content that I make. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much, and thanks for your generosity. The last way you can create it, I believe Cosmic Imp can create Infinity Clone. So those other ways. It's interesting how I sort of want to actually put this lower on the tier list. It's so good in terms of infinity power, but basically everything else in the game kind of bad. I guess this is pretty good to get from Imposter, because at least opens up the water lane. It's probably one of the better 1-drop mustaches. I don't know. I think I'm going to give it a little extra credit because it is part of one of the best superpowers in the game, but in general, it is pretty bad. It's a 1-2-1, but doing a 1-2-1 amphibious imp really is not that bad. The imp synergy, really, like if Snorkel Zombie was just this instead and had imp synergy, it would make it worth it for, because it combines well with Toxic Waste Imp and Imp Commander. I'll put in, you can get this from Eureka. Okay, there's other ways of getting it. All right, you can get it if it gets bounced into your hands. I'll put it in C. If it weren't for the fact that Infinity Superpower was so good, I will give it less. All right, next. This is going to be a really, really hard one to rate. The next one coming up is the Magic Beanstalk. Now, the original card that this token was created from is So Magic Beans. This card has had a lot of ups and downs since the game was created. It creates a 1-cost 4/4 bean draw card, which is just... this in its stats in itself is just going to be easy S tier. The only reason why I'm considering not putting it's just completely overpowered. The only reason why I'm not considering putting this in S tier, or I'm considering putting it less, is because the main card that actually makes this sucks. This is a completely unplayable card. There was a point in the game where they made this say the exact same thing but draw a card. That it became good, and then they decided to nerf Cycle Cap by nerfing So Magic Beans back to uselessness, which was a bad idea. Now, there are, I think, 2 other cards that can create it. One is Lima Pleurodon. This is a very good card. In fact, if the Lima Pleurodon stays on the field long enough, it becomes a huge threat because you're going to start getting your Magic Beanstalks. They're going to start coming up into your deck. Again, Magic Beanstalks are always shuffled randomly into your deck. No way of actually getting one. So it's very unreliable in the sense that you have to pick it up from your deck. That's the reason why So Magic Beans isn't good. Lima Pleurodon, it's mostly good because it's a 1-cost 2/2 amphibious bean. The secondary power really doesn't matter. And then you have another not very good card that creates them in the Mega Grow class. Where's Mega Grow? And it is Moonbean. Moonbean will also, every single time it hits face, shuffles 2 Magic Beanstalks into your deck. For a 3-cost card doing this, 2 Magic Beanstalks at a time. I've tried many times to try to make a deck with Moonbean around it, focused on trying to get those Magic Beanstalks, and I have, to this day, never been successful. Did I say this doesn't have to hit face? Whenever this does damage, sorry, it doesn't have to hit face. It can hit a zombie as well. Whenever it does damage to anything. it shuffles into your deck. Sorry. Thanks for correcting me. Cosmic Bean cannot. I don't think Cosmic Bean can make a Magic Beanstalk. That's interesting. Maybe Cosmic Imp. I might be mistaken when I said that Cosmic Imp can conjure an Infinity Clone. I really might have really made a blunder there because of all the time that I've been playing this in Cycle Cap, Cosmic Bean, I don't think this can make a Magic Beanstalk. Do you know what? I feel like I'm sitting here not actually knowing the answer for sure to this question. I don't think this does, and I don't. Maybe then Cosmic Imp doesn't make the Infinity Clone either. It seems like that should be consistent, but either way. So in itself, it is definitely an S tier token. I think I'm really actually going to put this in A tier. And again, it would be an S tier obviously for its stats, but because it's such an unimportant card in the game, it's so hard to actually pull off reliably getting Magic Beanstalks. The cards it's associated with are in general terrible. I know Lima Pleurodon's fine, but it doesn't need the Magic Beanstalks at all. I'm going to be putting it in A. Again, for its stats, obviously an S. Ridiculously overpowered stats, but overall implication and the ramifications it has on the game, it is going into A. All right. So next is going to be the Pot of Gold. Now this is a card, I remember when this event card came out. That was like in 2017. Pot of Gold is created by the Leprechaun Imp. The Pot of Gold is actually... Where the heck is Leprechaun? Come on, Leprechaun. Where are you? There you are. So this is when played, shuffle a Pot of Gold into your deck. This card, I believe, is a barrel card, but it cannot be created by Barrel of Barrels, which is a sneaky card which creates a random barrel in your hand, which I feel like maybe would have been a good idea. I guess if Barrel of Barrels doesn't create tokens, then maybe the Cosmic cards, I guess Cosmic Imp can't create Infinity Clone. The more I think about it, the less likely that seems to be. Alright, so when played, this is going to shuffle a Pot of Gold into your deck. Now, originally when this made it, shuffled 2 pots of gold into your deck. And the zombies, unlike the plants, the zombies are actually able to draw a lot of cards. You're able to, especially the brainy classes where you find that, you have cards like Kite Flyer, like Gatekeeper. You even have pretty efficient cards like Funded Razor. Anyway, just a lot more card draw happening. Even Teleport draws the cards. So you have a lot more card draw happening. It used to be that when Pot of Gold, when the shuffle 2, you can actually try to draw a lot of cards and actually get those pots of golds and create miracle decks where you're just drawing a ton of cards and making very big combos like Teacher with going viral. That was a really fun combo. Nowadays, that the Leprechaun Imp only shuffles 1 pot of gold into your deck. I really don't think it's useful. It's so hard to get the pot of gold. Some people have told me they've based decks on Leprechaun Imp and really tried to get that pot of gold, and they've had some success, but it's obviously just like half as good now that it only makes the 1 pot of gold into your deck. It used to be 3 pots? Did it used to shuffle 3 into your deck? No, it was 2. There's a big debate going on in the chat. If it used to be... It wasn't 3, it was 2. Anyway. That's the reason why... I think someone in the chat just asked me, what's the reason why Leprechaun Imp, when it shuffles 2 into your deck, why did that used to be a good card, but So Magic Beans was a bad card? And then the answer is because the plants do not have very good card draw. They don't have a card like Kite Flyer or Gatekeeper that just draws you cards every single turn. Also, even the 2 cards Flourish, which is very similar to the card Funded Razor. First of all, Funded Razor is in the same class as Leprechaun Imp. Flourish is not in the same class as So Magic Beans. But even Flourish, when you play that, the zombies can punish you very, very hard by teleporting in a minion by playing a Beam Me Up. You can wait and play Funded Razor when it's very safe, when the plants have not put too much of a threat on the field. And if they have, then you can use a different trick to remove that. That's why Funded Razor in general is a safer card to have in your deck than Flourish. But anyway... so right now, again, the Pot of Gold itself is very good. It's a 1-cost card that draws 3, but overall usefulness in the game, it's definitely going to lose points for that now, especially since it's almost unplayable. The card that creates this is almost unplayable. I think because it's amazing and useless at the same time, it's going to be less than Beanstalk. I'll put this just in B. That'll be fine. All right. All right. So unlike, the Pot of Gold, which is an amazing card but has almost no usefulness, I think we're really going to have the opposite here when we move on to Beam Me Up. Beam Me Up is actually one of the best cards in the game. Again, the token we're going to be talking about is the Space Cadet. There's no way to play that. You can only get it from Beam Me Up or Eureka or whatever. So it's just a 2-cost 2/3, which as a minion, if you're Beam Me Up, if your Space Cadet gets bounced back into your hand, it's horrible. 2-cost 2/3, there's a lot of 2-cost 2/3s that have abilities in this game. It's just really below average. But being able to play this in the trick stage almost makes it like a 3-cost card. Because just imagine a, teleport, a 2-drop. That's basically what it is, and that in total costs 3. Being able to have last say is so underrated in this game. It's so important. Beam Me Up just counters almost everything that the opponent will play on turn 2, except for maybe, Black Eyed Pea, which anyway is very strong against tricks. So, yeah. So Beam Me Up again, the actual token is very bad, but the usefulness of the card is very, very good. Where are we going to put this? Maybe we'll just put it in the same as Pot of Gold, since it's sort of the same. It's the same, except exactly the opposite. It's about B. But again, Beam Me Up is definitely one of the premier cards in this game. All right. Next, we're going to move on to Captain Deadbeard. It's just been amazing to me since day one how Captain Deadbeard is not a hero in this game, like instead of Brain Freeze or something like that. But Captain Deadbeard comes from the Barrel of Deadbeards. Now, I believe there was a point in time, there was like about a month where Captain Deadbeard itself was a card. It was like a 3-cost 4/3 pirate. Was that the case? I forget. There was like Captain Flameface wasn't a thing. Maybe they did have it. It was like a 3-cost 4/3 pirate. And then they decided to change Captain Deadbeard to Captain Flameface, which was which was a 2/4 and makes all your guys strike through, something like that. They made Deadbeard. Okay, this is what happened. Sorry, the chat's reminding me. This is what happened. They made Captain Deadbeard into a 2/4 strike through, make all your pirates strike through. And that changed, that made the Barrel of Deadbeards create this new minion. At first it made a 4/3, then it made what we know now as Captain Flameface, but it was called Captain Deadbeard. And then they decided that that wasn't very good for Barrel of Deadbeards. So they turned the Barrel of Deadbeards back to its original state, that it creates Captain Deadbeard, which is a 4/3 pirate, and they made a new card called Captain Flameface to replace that, and that was going to be for the pirate decks a 2/4 strike through. That's as we know it nowadays, the Captain Flame. I don't have to show you Captain Flameface. You already know what it is. That was this past week's event card. So, obviously, a 4/3. There's a couple different actual ways that you end up getting Captain Deadbeard in this game. One is obviously from Barrel of Deadbeards, and getting a really overpower, even for a 3-drop, a 4/3 is quite fine. The other application that matters is in leap decks. Very often when you're leaping either an interdimensional zombie into a 3-cost card or any 2-cost card using an evolutionary leap, when you get Captain Deadbeard, you're always happy because that's just ridiculous stats. The only thing that's better is like Moonwalker on Heights, or arguably Gatekeeper as equal stats, maybe slightly better. But anyway, can Frosty Mustache give you this token? I don't know. Damn, well, I'm really confused now about the rules of Conjuring. I think we're gonna have to go and test these. It seems like there might be some inconsistencies in the game, but anyway. All right. So how good actually is Captain Deadbeard? It's a very, very good combo card with Valk, of course, because the barrel counts as a minion that dies, and the Deadbeard counts as a minion that dies. The stats are really good. Again, whenever you get this from Leap, it's great. Where are we going to put Captain Deadbeard on this list? Can't really put it in. It is both a combination of useful and good stats. I'm actually going to put this in A because both of its stats are good. I think if it's bounced in your hand, would a 3-cost 4/3 zombie pirate be good? It still is okay. I wonder if this was actually a card, if this would be viable. It probably would.
Shut up and take my money.
In fact, who is this? Thank you so much to Tig2. it bleeped out some word you said, but thank you so much for the $15 Tig2. I'll try to read out what you said with the bleep here. Fry, you ignorant something that starts with the S word. I subbed and was not welcome to the Frimely. I love your philosophy on politics streams. Keep them coming. Thank you so much, Tig2. That's the podcast I do. It's called The Deep Fry. But anyway, I don't think this would actually be a very bad card in Pirate decks. I know it has dry zombie sickness, but a 4-cost 4/3 is still, for a 3-cost card, is still pretty good stats. Plus, it's a pirate, so I'm just imagining playing Swashbuckler on turn 2, getting away with it, and throwing a 4/3 onto the field. Pirate onto the field the next turn. This actually might even be viable as a minion. Anyway, guys, I'm going to put it in A because I do think it has really good stats, and again, it's pretty applicable. Barrel of Deadbeards, it's not like, you don't put Barrel of Deadbeards necessarily in Pyro decks, but you do run it in Valk. It definitely has some pretty useful qualities in this game. All right, moving right along, the next thing is going to be the Potato Mine from Spitao. This thing is called a Hothead, I believe. So the superpower is called Tater Toss, but the actual minion is a Hothead, and it explains here what it does. It is a potato mine that has team up. When destroyed, do 6 damage to a zombie here. So this is actually a really good controlling power in the game. The actual potato mine, the actual Hothead, when it's on the field, and if it gets bounced back in your hand, for example, actually costs 3, which is the correct amount for this card to cost. This really would be the equivalent of a 3-cost card. It's a very big removal, pretty efficient card. It has team up, really kind of everything you want in a removal card. Thank you so much, Carlos, for subscribing. Welcome to the Primally, Carlos, with that free Amazon Prime sub. So this is sort of like the proof that superpowers cost 3. It happens to be this card is slightly better than Spitao's superpower, slightly, because this could be played behind something if it was actually in your hand. But Spitao's superpower, it always goes in front. That's just the way that tricks that spawn minions work with team ups. It spawns it in front. There's usually any way you want to put it in front, so it really doesn't matter. I don't know what the scenario is that you'd want the Hothead behind a different minion on the field. But anyway, yeah. So as a minion, as a 3-cost card, this is actually very decent. And specifically as Spitao's superpower, this is freaking amazing. So the application is great. One of the better superpowers in the game. Definitely above average, and it's actual. I mean, if this was a card I would consider running, obviously you have cards like stupid cards like Shamrock and stuff, but in the Kabloom class, imagine this was a Kabloom, it would probably be a Guardian card, but imagine that if removal was actually balanced in this game, this would be an actual viable card at 3. I mean, really, really, really powerful. Damn, I almost want to put this in S tier. I think I will. And again, it's because its stats, its actual usefulness, even for a 3, it is very, very balanced. Probably even a little bit overpowered for a 3-cost card. And it's an extremely, and the way it comes out into the game. So that's going to be the one I'm going to actually put into S tier. All right. Next is going to be Neptuna's little guy, little octopi. You know what I'm saying? Can I get a slice of that octopi? Where's Neptuna? Sorry, I'm scrolling down to Sneaky for some reason. But this is a superpower token. Neptuna's Octopult. It creates an Octopet. So you have Octopult, Octopet, and Octozombie. Don't get them mixed up. 3 separate things. This is a 3/2 Amphibia. So this essentially is a Dolphin Rider. Even has the exact same synergy, which is 3/2. So this token is useless. I mean, Dolphin Rider is not a good card. 3-cost 3/2 Amphibious is not enough stats. But obviously, when it's being played from Neptuna's superpower and it's being played as a trick, it's like Beam Me Up. You know what I mean? Beam Me Up, a 2-cost 2/3 would not be good. A 3-cost 3/2 Amphibious is not good when it's a minion, but when it's a trick, it's amazing. Really actually becomes one of the better superpowers in the game. Imagine you even had a 3-cost trick on the zombie side that says create a 3/2 and this can be played in the water. That would be a very, very good trick. Like a really, really good removal card. And it could also be used as aggro. That would be amazing. So yeah, we're going to lose points on this because the token, when it's bounced back into your hand or when you get this from Eureka or whatever, it's not very good. But the actual practically, this is an extremely good card. I'll put it an 8. It is quite fine. Should we lose points because it actually sucks? I guess we'll put it in the same as Beam Me Up. It's a very useful card, but the card itself actually sucks. It's actually the same as Beam Me Up, and we'll put it in B. All right, that's fair. Next. All right, next is going to be a very underrated card. It's going to be Immorticia's Zombats, which is created from the Witch's Familiar. This is a really underrated superpower. It creates a 2/1 amphibious, which when it damages anything, that hurts a plant. It can actually be the plant here. It hurts a plant and draws a card. So this is sort of, you just compare this to like Weed Whack or to Solar Flare's superpower or to anything even similar to Meteor. I know Meteor and Lightning Bolts do 3 damage. This only does 2. But this does have some advantages over Lightning Bolt. This will be drawing a card, so it'll give you that card advantage. You can sometimes even leverage the Zombats to draw several cards. For example, if you play on the field and you buff it up, you play it into Area 22, this can sometimes end up hitting a lot of minions. This can also, if they play any kind of minion with 0 attack, like Primal Walnut or like Sunflower, this will attack it and stay on the field and possibly draw many cards. So definitely an underrated superpower. I love the fact that you can play this into the water. Now, the Zombat itself, as a 3-cost 2/1 when it damages something, draw cards, as a dry zombie is terrible. I mean, it's one of the worst things. Like, you know, Captain Deadbeard is one of the best things when you leap a 2-cost card. You really want to get Captain Deadbeard. One of the worst things you want to get is the Zombats because it has extremely poor stats. It's really only good to be playing reactively. If they can react to this, just don't put a minion in front of it. Take the 2 damage and play something in a different lane that will do more damage. So really, really terrible card. It's actually worse than like Octo, probably worse than the Octopet and the Beam Me Up guy in terms of how good of a card it is. But again, it's part of a slightly above average superpower. I'm not gonna say this is the best superpower in the game, but definitely above average. This should cost 1 when you replay it. See, it's interesting, but this is yet another example how superpowers cost 3. Now, I know, you're right, though. I really would have liked to see the Zombats and the Octopult actually cost less when it's coming from your hand, maybe. Like, the heavies cost 2, because the whole point of the superpower costing 3 is only the fact it's played as a trick. Tricks on the zombie side will just cost more when they're creating minions. But anyway, I'm going to give it, again, a little points. This is going to be very similar to actually Infinity's power because it is, it's part of a good superpower, but it's kind of useless otherwise. So maybe I'll even put this in D because there's so many times that this is like the worst thing to get, like from from interdimensional zombie and from leaps. It's not like Infinity Clone that when you get this from Imp Throwing It, it's still all right. This is almost never all right to get from not its actual real application. All right, we'll put it in D. Piece of garbage. All right, next. Next is going to be the Sappy Environment. This is a really, really rare card. This is probably the rarest token of everything on the list to have in your hand. I've probably seen this in my hand the fewest times of anything else. What class is Sapling even in? That's how little I use this card. I'm like, ooh, what class is it in? Some Smarty, of course. So the Sap Fling is a 6-cost card, which is a 5/3, poor stats, and the bonus is it creates an environment which is just okay. Now, you don't see it on this token here, but this card, I believe, costs 4 in the game to play. I wish I had the cost here. So how does this card even end up in your hand? So you can get it bounced back into your hand. It's 3 or 4? I think it's 4. I'm pretty sure it's 4. You can get this card. What this does, of course, Sappy plays. Let's first look at this. Zombies here get -3 attack. So it's basically Bog, but instead of -2, it'll be -3. It also doesn't have the other ability of Bog to make amphibious minions, amphibious plants there stronger. So the way this can get bounced back in your hand is Excavator, who can, on the zombie side, can bounce environments back into your hand. I think there's one other random card that can also, Primal Walnut is the other card that can give this back to you, this token. Really, really weird how some of the Conjure cards can create tokens and some can't. I'm actually really, really curious about it. I haven't really thought about that before. It seems like inconsistency there. So Primal Walnut can give you this Sappy. That's happened to me once or probably like twice. approximately, getting Sappy Place. So Sappy Place itself, again, its usefulness in the game is very, very low because Sapling is not a good card. This is way too expensive for what it does. It gives you mediocre stats for a 6-drop, and it gives you a mediocre environment. It's usually way too late to play your environments. You want your environments to be cheaper, not having to rely on a 6-cost card to create them. So anyway... and it's also, again, for a 4-cost environment, this is not a good 4-cost environment. It just does not do enough. When it's covered, its entire ability goes away. It does not give you any permanent negative stats. It's only while this is active. That's when it gives the zombies -3. Unfortunately, we're going to have to put this into Corv tier. If you don't know what a Corv is, it's the channel meme. It's a Swedish hot dog, okay? Don't ask questions. Yeah, we're putting that in Corv tier. Sorry, Sappy environment. It really just has no usefulness ever. Next, Browncoat. I can't even find Browncoat on the list. There's actually no way for me to even show you. So this used to be a card. I think this used to be the Hardy. Correct me if I'm wrong, because we're going back 4 years now to 2016. I believe before they made all the little tokens in the game, I think instead of Baseball Zombie being the 1-cost 1/1 token for the Hardy class, instead it was Browncoat Zombie or regular Zombie. I think it was actually in this game just called Zombie, and that is the 1-cost 1/1. Now, the only way that you can even find the Zombie in the game at all is in the tutorial. They still have the little Browncoat 1-cost 1/1 zombies. I'm pretty sure it's called Browncoat because in PvZ 2 maybe it was named that. I don't remember. But anyway, this is the typical zombie from Plants vs. Zombies. I almost wish this had been in the game and would have decent stats just to sort of make, the traditional original zombie from PvZ1 good. But of course, every PvZ1 plant or zombie has to be trash in this game. And unfortunately, this is going to go right along with Sappy Place. In Corv tier, obviously completely useless card. I think it might have professional synergy, but nobody cares. Freaking Corv. Maybe this would just be a 1-cost 2/3. That would be good. Why not? Why not? Anyway. All right. Next there's going to be a few more tokens from Superpower. So Beta Keratina. I don't think we're missing anything here. Beta Keratina has 2 superpowers which create tokens. One is I guess we'll do them in order as they are over here. One is going to be the Lieutenant Keratron. This is a 1-cost 2/1 team up, and when played Conjuru. It's very weird how this card costs 1. Like, the other superpowers you see are sort of inflated in their cost, like when it's bounced back into your hand. If this card gets bounced back into your hand, you can replay it for 1, which is really, really good. I guess this one sort of the superpower is the minion as opposed to, with the bats and with the octopult. It's not the superpower, it's the minion. The superpower creates this token. But anyway, this is a fine card, actually above average for a superpower. It can protect, it can add aggro to the field. It does conjure not a very good cards as a root, but it actually is pretty good. So as far as tokens are concerned, I'm going to put this in A. And again, specifically because this is bounced back into your hand, when you just replay it as a normal card in your hand, that it still costs 1 and really has the same effect. So I'm going to give that super, super high. Is this technically not a token? Maybe this doesn't count as a token. I think really, the person, Barry Bamo, put together these lists for me. I originally did not include these 3 superpowers, and I asked him to do in the end. I think this is probably good enough to be considered a token. It's kind of weird. It's a superpower, which is not a card, but it's a superpower. Anyway, I'm going to put the other power also into 1. This might even be slightly better. I'm probably just going to be putting the Lieutenant Keratron in A tier. The Insane Uproot will be also an A tier, almost an S. It's a little bit better than this one. This is a 1-cost 2/2 move a player zombie. I mean, if this was a card in the game, this would be ridiculous. I think as a 2-cost card, this would just be okay. I think this would be, it would almost be Sweet Pea. It has a little less stats, but has a better ability. I think this would actually be a pretty decent 2-cost card in the game. Maybe. Yeah, it would actually probably be better than Sweet Pea overall. And that's why, especially then when it gets bounced back in your hand, you can replay it for 1. Really nice. Maybe I should make a deck that's that's focused on bouncing these back in your hand and replaying them with what's it called? With Rescue Radish. And of course, the last one in the game is going to be HG's Superpower. This is a 1 cost. It's Iron Border. It has Sports Synergy and Imp Synergy, which are unnecessary. This is a 1 cost 2/3 Bullseye that will even get bigger when it's in an environment. 1 cost 2/3 is already ridiculously good. Bullseye? That's amazing. They can't even keep it on the field or it's going to be draining your opponent's health and not even charging their block meter. It didn't need to get better when it's in an environment, but it did. I mean, this is, for me, just easy S tier. This is really one of the best superpowers in the entire game. I guess I kind of already rated these. I don't even remember where I put Beta Carotene as superpowers back. I'd probably put them in A or B. But anyway, obviously one of the best tokens in the game, and again, you can replay it for 1. Alright guys, so that is the PvZ Heroes tokens tier list. If you guys have any other creative ideas for tier lists in the future, please let me know in the comment section below. That is all for now. Hope you guys enjoyed. I certainly did. Peace, this is Fry.